Hi, welcome to part two, where I'll be discussing case number one, Karen. Now, before I get into the individual cases, I wanted to note that given the rampant problem of absenteeism, I think I'm using that word right, the rate of being absent in school, I'm not taking each of these cases as a specific problem that needs to be solved directly, but rather as illustrative of um, challenges that are occurring across the student population. So that is going to be how I use each of these cases to inform my final decision. So here we go. Case number one, Karen. Karen was a high achieving student, but her grades declined as her attendance declined. So there is some correlation there. Um, that doesn't necessarily imply causation on its own. You'd have to dig into more of the research for that, but there is a correlation. She was married in August. Now, when I read that, kind of caught me off guard. Don't usually get high school students getting married. And this is where one of those cultural things I thought might be coming into play. Now, I do not know anything beyond influx of Asian and Hispanic um, people. I have some experience with Hispanic culture. Getting married at this age doesn't seem to me to be a hallmark of that culture. And I mean, saying Asian culture is so broad that who knows which one we're talking about here. Um, but something that it considers that there could be a cultural factor in play there. Now, this raised all kinds of odd questions because the involved people are the parents and Karen's spouse. Um, there is no evidence of communication with school staff between any of these people and school staff. Um, going into the legal and ethical issues, ethically, there are unusual family dynamics at play in this situation. Again, to me, it seems uncommon that a high school student is going to be married their, I believe it's junior year of high school. Um, so, legally, how does marriage affect quote unquote authority over Karen? Typically, it would be the parents, but she is a married student. Where is the line between the parental rights and responsibilities and the spousal rights and responsibilities? Who even is the spouse? I don't know. Are they another student? Are they an old, like, go to a different school? Another, like, an older person graduated? I don't know. Because she's still a minor, I assume the school continues to have some level of authority. Um, that's an assumption I have to make for this case to continue to be really relevant. If the school has no authority over attendance, well, then we have no authority, and that's kind of the end of it. And then there's that parents versus spouse thing that I was talking about. Karen's academic performance may have been harmed by her marriage. Again, that is a correlation. That is not necessarily a causation. Okay? I'm just saying that she got married in August. Her grades started going down. There may be a connection. That may just be a coincidence. Karen was an excellent student, but her grades and attendance have suffered following her marriage. And again, I want to emphasize these are all correlations. I really don't have any causal links between any of these. They may be connected, they may not be. Quick fact synthesis. It is unclear to what degree Karen's parents have relinquished quote unquote control of Karen's future to her spouse. Again, not sure culturally where that line is drawn, not sure legally where that line is drawn. It's a very odd situation. Regardless of that dynamic, the school continues to have authority over her as a minor enrolled in the district. I think, I don't know exactly where that line gets drawn, but there is a line somewhere um, that says that we're still responsible for her. Okay, case number two, Tyrone. Tyrone is an average student. He has missed school to travel with family. I believe it was 2 full weeks at some point in the semester, not consecutively. Like it was a full week, and then he was at school, and then another full week. Family provided academic reasons to excuse absences. He went to the Smithsonian for one, and then for the other one, he went to Canada, where there would be some other opportunity. The homeroom teacher okayed the absences. I think it said excuse the absences, which, again, is not school policy. So the parents and that teacher are involved. Parents appear to support education, at least on paper, and the teacher is okay with missing classes. Um, Legally, Tyrone has exceeded his excused absences. It's something like 3, and then there's, well, 5, and then there's supposed to be a grade reduction, but there was something about 3. I don't remember exactly what the number 3 was, but there was some other consequence after 3. Ethically, field trips to travel are good experiences and can be educational. I've lived in Mexico for 2 years. I visited Japan for a week. Um, I've traveled to all over the United States. I've been to the Smithsonian. Um, so there is a lot of good that can come out of travel, and that's an experience that a lot of kids don't have. And so, ethically, I'm reluctant to try and just take that away from Tyrone. Um, there may be unstated reasons Tyrone's parents want him to travel with them. For example, there may not be anyone else available to watch Tyrone when they are gone. Um, don't know a whole lot else about Tyrone. Maybe there's some risk with him being left alone for an entire week. Um, I don't know how many parents would trust their high school child to be alone for an entire week. Um, yeah. Ethically, the parents have promised Tyrone will keep up with his work. I don't have any evidence that he hasn't been. And ethically, it does not appear that Tyrone's grades have suffered as a result of his absences. Um, which makes me think that his absences, I mean, they can't be ignored, um, but they don't seem to be having as big an effect on him as, say, Karen's might. In a sentence, Tyrone has missed several days of school for family trips, which may provide legitimate and unique educational opportunities, is my view on this case. Although Tyrone has missed several days of school, there is no evidence that his academic performance has suffered. He's described as an average student. There was no mention that his grades have suffered as a result of his absences. They appear to be keeping their promise to make sure Tyrone does his work, otherwise we would see some reflection in his grades. Teachers excuse the absences contrary to school board policy. All right, case number 3, Christina. Reposition myself. Christina missed several days consecutively for church trips, no other absences noticed. I believe it was 4 days in a row on 3 separate occasions that she missed for a church trip. The excuse was provided by the minister in a form letter, and approved by the homeroom teacher. Again, not board policy. The algebra teacher requested a parent-teacher conference. She missed 2 major exams. This, to me, indicates that one of the reasons teachers should not be approving absences is the principal needs to take everything into account, not just the homeroom teacher. Grades are middling to low. We have the minister and 2 teachers involved. Legally, Christina's minister does not have the obligation or authority to excuse her absence. That is the job of the parents, which to me is somewhat of a red flag. The minister shouldn't be the one excusing absences or getting absences excused. And again, they were submitted as form letters. That leads me to believe that this is not the only student who is being excused for church trips by this specific minister. He's got a form letter ready to go. That tells me he sends these out a lot. Or she. I shouldn't assume the gender of this minister. Legally, I do not know the parents' position on the issue. I don't even know if the parents are aware that this is going on. The teacher is not authority to prove these absences. Any intervention may raise freedom of religion objections. This is part of her religion. She needs to be able to express her religion. Not saying that that holds any legal water, but that objection could be raised. Clearly, this minister feels that the church conferences are more important than school. Christina has been missing school to participate in church activities, some of which coincide with important exams, and all of which have not been excused through appropriate channels. Christina's grades have undoubtedly suffered from missing school, middle to low grades, based on the number of absences, or with a lot of absences. She was missing 2 exams, which happened to coincide with these trips. The excuse of her absence was not provided by a parent, but by a third party. Furthermore, the absence does not fall under typical circumstances and were not approved by the principal. This isn't death in the family. This isn't illness or medical. This would be an outside circumstance. And I want to note that I came from a very religious family, or come from a very religious family. We attend a church that has a very strong youth program. I never missed school for church activities, so this whole situation seems it's very odd to me. Okay. I think then I will pick up in the next video with Carl, case number 4. So I will see you in part 3.